Okay, and I have two here, Moss 1 and Moss 2. I think I'll just start with maybe the second one. Okay, and we'll open these up. And these are pretty big. It's actually 3,000 wide. And some of this I don't want to have on there, obviously, so let's just crop this first. Okay, so I'm just going to grab the crop tool and we'll cut off the bottom. Alright, I'm just going to go up and maybe take kind of like the center portion of it here. Right, and do enter. And then let's just patch out these little marks here. That's going to look kind of weird if it shows up on our texture. Okay, so I'm just going to use the healing brush again. Alright, so we'll alt-click somewhere and then just quickly get rid of them. Right, this is obviously some kind of concrete wall or something, so there's some rough spots. That's going to make ours look a little bit weird if we leave them on there. So we'll just quickly get rid of anything that looks like it stands out as being wrong. And we will mask some of this out. I'm not going to actually just apply it like this. I'm going to try to break it up a little bit more using a mask. So some of it will probably get covered up anyway. Alright, so just get rid of anything like that maybe. We have a crack up here, but I'm just going to get rid of the top of this anyway. So we don't need to worry about that. And that should be fine. Okay, so let's copy it, Control A and C, and we'll go back to our map and just paste it on top of the dirt layer, Control V. Okay, and I'm going to start on the corner posts here. Alright, so I'm just going to drag this down, and we'll zoom in. Okay, and it's too big, obviously, so let's do Control T and Shift drag on the corner to scale it down. And I'm not going to put the moss all the way up the corner post. I'm going to keep it to like the bottom third or maybe half way up. Okay, so we'll take it down a bit. Alright, I'm just going to move it over. Alright, just below the UV chunks there, and I'm just going to scale it back up so it matches the width we need. Okay, maybe like that. And we'll say enter. Okay, and I'm going to use a mask just to get rid of some of it. Okay, so let's go out back to our texture source folder, and I have a couple of masks here. I'm going to take the first one. Okay, and this one's also 3,000 wide. Okay, and you can see it's pretty high contrast, and when you're working with masks, anything that's black or dark is going to be hidden by the mask, and anything that's white is going to show through. So if it's 100% white, it's going to show 100% through, and if it's an off-white or light gray, it's just going to lower the opacity based on the level of that white, and same goes with the dark. Okay, so we'll just copy it. Alright, and we'll just go to layer 2 here and just add a layer mask. Okay, and I'm just going to click on the mask here and then go into the channels panel, and we'll go down, turn our mask layer on, and I'm just going to paste it right here with Control V. Okay, and it's going to show up red. Alright, so let's do Control T on this, and I'm just going to scale it down so it kind of fits the height of our posts. Alright, let's take it down a bit. Alright, move it over, and you can see the parts that are going to show through there. I'll go back to our normal layer in a second. It'll be a little more visible. Alright, but you can see it's starting to break it up here. Okay, so I'm just going to do something like that, hit enter. Okay, and then we'll just go back to the layers and just click on our normal layer there. Okay, and you can see what it's doing. I'll turn the UVs off so it's easier to see. Alright, so it's just going to hide some of the texture behind it. Okay, and that's the really cool thing about using masks. You're actually not wrecking the image underneath. Alright, you can turn your layer mask off just by disabling it anytime, and you're going to get your full image back. Alright, so it's not destroyed. And you can just click it to turn it back on. And you do still have control here to tweak the moss texture, make adjustments to that, or make adjustments to the mask itself. Okay, so if you just select the mask box, so it's highlighted there, you can do let's do image adjustments. We'll just do a levels adjustment here. Okay, so you still have control to bring more of it through, as you can see, or take more of it away. Alright, and that's the really powerful thing about using them. Alright, same goes down here. You can adjust the output levels and make it fainter, or go the opposite way and brighten it up and get more of it back. Okay, you can see it coming through there. Alright, so I'm just going to leave these at the defaults. Alright, I might just take the left one here up a little bit. I'm just going to try to bring a little more of the detail through. Don't want it to be too crazy. I do want it to look somewhat patchy, and that'll depend on how you want yours to look. If you really want it to look like thick moss, you can pretty much leave it at how the original image looked. But I'm going to break it up just like that, okay? And we'll say okay. Alright, and we can test this on our model. As you can see up here though, some of that concrete from the wall is actually showing through. Okay, and we obviously don't want that showing up on our board, so I'm just going to click on the mask again here so it's active, and I'm just going to actually paint on it with a paintbrush and just black. Okay, so it's going to hide, and same goes if you switch to white and you start painting, it's going to show more of it through. Okay, so I have a fairly large brush here, a soft brush, and I'm just going to just paint the top half of the post out. Okay, and this is a really quick way to do this. You could actually make a levels adjustments or brightness and contrast adjustments to the actual mask itself to get rid of this, but just for the sake of speed, I'm just going to quickly paint some of it out. Okay, and you can see it disappearing. And again, I'm just going to keep it to like the bottom third, maybe, and we'll see how that looks. And if we have to move it around, we can. Alright, so just quickly get rid of some of it. Alright, and then let's do a save, and we'll just check it out in Max and see if it's going to work out. Okay, so file save. Jump back over here, and this might be a little too bright, but we'll see how it looks here when it shows up. Okay, so there it is. And I do want to have this kind of thick, patchy look. And I'm going to keep it towards the bottom because I would assume, more moss is going to grow closer to the ground. But you could add it higher up or on the top as well if you want to. Alright, so I think this is a little too bright looking, and again, this depends on your monitor. This might look kind of dark, or it might look neon green. Alright, so I'm just going to go back and just tone the brightness down a little bit on that. Okay, so I'm going to select the actual moss again, go back and do an image adjustments, and I'll just use maybe hue saturation here. Okay, and you can still tweak it. Alright, you can tweak the hue, change the color. Alright, I'm just going to leave that one at 0. Alright, same goes for saturation. You can take it down so it's less saturated or more saturated. And then brightness, make it darker, make it brighter. Alright, I'm just going to take the lightness down a little bit into the negatives just to make it a little bit darker. Alright, I'm going to go maybe negative, say 24, 23, something like that. Okay, and we'll say okay. And then we'll just save one more time and just see if that looks a little better. Okay, so it's a little darker and it doesn't, quite stand out as much. Alright, so that's probably fine. We'll add it to the rest of our boards and the ladder, and then we'll see, if we need to adjust farther. Okay, but let's just do a save here. And we'll jump back over and just add it to the rest of the bottom boards. So let's just zoom out for a sec. Alright, turn UVs back on, and I think I'll just do the side boards here next. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in on these guys down at the bottom. Okay, and if you want to save some time, you could just reuse the moss from up here on the corner posts, or you could actually apply the layer mask here to collapse it, and then you can just copy this altered moss around, just like we did with the wood and the dirt. But I might just go out and actually open up the other moss picture I have just to change this up a bit. Okay, so we'll go back out, and this time we're going to take moss 1, open it up, and this one's about 3,000 wide as well, so let's just crop some of this nasty looking stuff off here. Alright, so we're going to cut off that lighter part of the bottom and maybe just take a chunk of it like that. Alright, maybe a little taller. Okay, and we'll crop with enter. And it doesn't look like we really need to patch anything on it, so let's copy it, Control A and C, go back, and we'll just paste it on top of our other moss layer there with Control V. Okay, and this one's big, so let's do transform on it, Control T, and we'll just take it down so it's a little bit more the size we want. Alright, so I'm just going to pull it over here. Alright, I might just stick it like that right now, and I think I'll just worry about maybe the first 2 sections of boards at a time, and then we'll do these 2 over here. Okay, so let's just say enter there. And again, this is where, being organized when you lay out your UVs will really help in here, because we know these are the lower boards here, and then up to the top. Okay, so I want to have it dense close to the ground, so I'm just going to worry about getting it, on the bottom few. And we'll just add a mask to this, so let's go grab our mask again. I'm just going to use the same one. Copy it. You could use a different one if you wanted to. Alright, we'll go back, we'll add a layer mask to that layer. Okay, go into the channels, turn it on, and paste, Control V. Alright, and even though we're using the same mask for this, you could vary the scale of it and add some more variation to the moss so it doesn't look exactly the same as that one up there. Okay, so I'm just going to move it down, and we'll do Control T on it and just take the size down a bit. Alright, move it over. Alright, maybe like that for now, and we'll say enter, and let's go back and just click on our image. Alright, I'm just going to get rid of that selection. Alright, so I might just test this out and just see how it looks, and if we don't have enough, we'll do a levels adjustment on our mask to get some of it back. Okay, and we'll also tweak the color so it matches this, but let's just do a save. And we'll go back over and just see how that looks. Alright, it's going to show up down here. Alright, this doesn't look bad down here. Not sure if I want to have it all the way up this diagonal board or not. Alright, so I might just take it off there a little bit. Okay, and we can also mask it off up here at the top. Alright, so same deal here. I'm just going to click on the mask and use a black paintbrush to just get rid of some of this upper stuff. Alright, you can do this with the UVs on too. Alright, so just get rid of it. It's overlapping our corner post there a bit. Alright, get rid of it over on these guys. I'm just going to feather it out of those upper couple of boards. And this will really depend on how much you want to have on your tower. You can put it all over the place if you want to. It would grow up on the top as well if it was old enough, I would think, or just depending on how wet it is, or if it's in the shade, or whatever. Alright, so I think this is the end I want to remove here, so I'm just going to paint a little bit on this middle piece, just to hide some of that, and we'll go back over and just see if I'm doing it on the right end. I'm pretty sure I am, but let's save and just check it out. Okay, so I'm going to see if this disappears. Alright, looks good. Okay, and it doesn't have to be a perfect even level around the entire thing. You can have it go up one post more than another, which might actually help it look a little more realistic. Or you could have it coming up onto here, or whatever you want to do, but that doesn't look bad for these guys, so I think I'll just leave that and move on to the next ones. Alright, we could maybe tweak the color a little bit here though first. Okay, so let's just do that quickly. So I'm just going to select the layer there, and we'll do a hue saturation on this. Alright, just take the lightness down a little bit to darken it up. Alright, even just like that, slightly. Should be fine. Okay, and we'll just move on to the next set of them. Alright, turn our UVs back on. Okay, so for this one, we could reuse this, or we could reuse the original one. I think I might just reuse the one we used on the post there, just to change it up a bit. Okay, so I'm just going to go down to layer 2, and we could apply the layer mask and then just, hit Control A and C and copy it over. Or what we could also do here, if we want to still have the ability to alter our mask later on and we want to make changes, we can just right click this and duplicate the layer. Alright, just say OK. Alright, it's going to give us a copy of the layer with the mask still in there and editable. Okay, and then we can just drag that down over here. Alright, so I'm just going to line it up with these lower ones again. Okay, maybe like that. And I'm just going to chop off the part that's overlapping. Alright, delete. Get rid of it. Okay, and same with the end grain here. I'm just going to delete it off there for now. And I think I'll do these separately in a minute. Okay, so just like that. Alright, so let's save again. Jump back over and just see if that looks okay. Okay, so let's just spin around here. I'm just going to close the active shade window for a sec. Alright, so it's fairly thick on the back, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be, completely uniform. Alright, so that's okay for the lower parts. I'm not loving this up here, though. I want to have, it more on this end than this end, so I think I'll get rid of that. Alright, it could be a little thicker on this one, but I might just leave it just for the sake of speed. Okay, so I'm just going to tone it down up on this part here. Alright, so let's turn our UVs back on. And that's this one right here. Alright, so same thing here, we can just paint in the mask to get rid of it. Alright, so I'm just going to select the mask and just use our black paintbrush again, take the brush size down a bit. And I'm just going to paint it off here just a bit. Okay. And if you wanted to get more back on the other end, you can just switch colors and paint in there, and you can see it coming back. Alright, but that might be a little too intense. Okay, or you can even experiment with, different shape brushes to, bring some of that back in. But I might just kind of leave it like that and just check it out one more time. Alright, file save. Alright, you can see it disappeared there. Alright, so that's not looking too bad. And again, if it's looking too intense or too thick, you can take it down. Okay, so let's just turn our active shade back on. Alright, and we may as well do a save while we're in Max. Alright, save another copy, and we'll just go back and finish this up. So let's just turn our UVs back on. Okay, and we'll just quickly add this to the lower end pieces that we have here. And it might just actually reuse the same one, so I'm just going to duplicate this layer again. Alright, right click, duplicate, say OK. Okay, and we'll just drag this over to our end grain. Just going to kind of try to get it on there somewhat evenly, so I might use the middle of the moss. Alright, let's get in here, and hopefully you can see this okay. Alright, so I'm just going to overlay it like that, and then we'll just chop off what we don't want. Okay, so I'm just going to drag a selection around these lower ones. Okay, and then around our posts here, I'm going to hold down Shift to add to the selection. Right. Just make sure we get all these ones. These ones are the upper ones here, so we don't need to put it on there. Okay, so I'm going to select everything on the lower part, do Control Shift I, and then delete it out of there with delete. Okay, so just like that. Alright, and let's do a save one more time and just see if that's gonna look okay. Back in Max. Alright, and now you can see we have it on the ends of the boards. Okay, so it just blends everything together. We want to make sure that we don't have it on the sides but not on the ends, because it's gonna look pretty much completely wrong. And you can see right here on this one. I'll just get in there a little closer. You can see what I mean here. This one, it's got quite thick moss on here, but there's nothing on the actual board there, so that looks like a mistake. Okay, so we can either take it off there, or we could add a little bit more to our diagonal one there. Okay, which we might want to do right now. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly add some, just to that one piece. Alright, and that's this one right here. So I'm just going to duplicate the layer again. Alright, let's use maybe layer 3 this time. Alright, we've only used that once, so I'm just going to duplicate this, say OK. Alright, and we'll just drag it up so it's actually on the board we want it to be. Okay, right here. And I'm just going to drag a selection around that board, invert the selection, and delete the rest. And let's just mask out the end piece here again. Alright, I'm just going to paint on the mask with black. Not with white, with black. Okay, and we'll just remove it from that end, the upper end. Okay. Alright, let's go down to the next one. This one right here. So again, I think I'll just duplicate it. Okay, duplicate layer. And I know we're making a mess here, but we're going to combine all these all together on a single layer when we're done. Alright, so I'm just going to drag this stuff down. Alright, it's already cropped because we just chopped off some of it, so it should fit the board pretty good. Alright, we could do Control T and just rotate it. Alright, I might just flip it horizontally. Okay, and then move it down to this end. Alright, just so they won't look the same. Okay, just like that. Enter. And then, just to be safe, I'm just going to drag a selection around again and chop off everything else. Alright, invert, delete. Alright, so let's turn the UVs off and just check that out and see if it's going to look alright. Alright, save. Alright, so we should see it show up here. I'm just going to click to refresh. Okay, there it is. Alright, so it's blending it in a little better now. Alright, let's check out this side. Okay, and that side's okay as well. Alright, so we'll just add it to the ladder, and we will have to add it to the pipe as well, and the foot blocks, but we'll do that after we texture them. Okay, so let's just quickly do the ladder. I'm just going to save here in Max one more time, and we'll go back. Alright, so we'll just move up to our ladder post there and turn our UVs on. Alright, so you could use a fresh mask if you want to, but just to save time, I'm just going to reuse what we've already done. Alright, so I'm just going to maybe copy, just going to zoom out here so I can actually see. We've cut a few of them up, so I just want to make sure I take a decent sized chunk. Okay, so I'm going to reuse this layer 2 copy one. Alright, right click it, duplicate. Okay, alright, then we'll drag it up so we can see it. Alright, there it is. So let's turn the UVs back on, and we'll just go in here. Okay, I might actually scale this up just slightly, just to get it a little higher up the post. Alright, just a bit, so it's about the bottom half. Alright, let's just remove the part we don't want. So just drag a selection around that ladder piece, invert it, and delete it. Alright, so there's one post done. Let's just move up to the top one here, and again I'm just going to reuse one of these and move it up. Alright, and this is the one we just did, so it's already cropped for us, so I might just flip it around with Control T. Alright, so let's just flip it horizontally, just to change it up a bit. Okay, so we'll turn the UVs off, just see how that looks. Alright, not too bad. Okay, so we have our ladder rungs up here, and this will be the last part we really have to worry about for the moss. Alright, so let's just maybe take layer 2, copy the original one here, and just duplicate it again one last time. Alright, and just drag it up. Okay, here it comes. And I'm just going to keep it to the bottom 2 or 3. Just going to turn the UVs off here just to make it a little easier to see. Alright, so I'm just going to find kind of a random spot that looks like it might work. Alright, maybe like that. Okay, and then we'll just chop off what we don't want. Okay, so I'm just going to drag a selection around the wood there, invert it, Control-Shift-I, and delete it. Alright, so I think that's all the moss we have to worry about right now. Okay, so let's just zoom out and take a look. Just make sure I didn't forget any pieces. We will have to put it on the pipe, and I'm going to wait. Alright, so let's just save and just make sure it's going to look right. Jump back over to Max. Alright, just wait for it to update. Alright, so there it is on the ladder. Alright, let's just turn on active shade here. Alright, and again, you can take, all day doing this if you want to, if you really want to be, precise where you place it, but I've spent quite a while on it already. I don't want to take too much time up, so I'll probably just leave it like this, but, feel free to, add more to the top or other places, and you can still tweak the color and the intensity to get it the way you want, but I think I'll leave it like this for now, and we'll move on and just finally start doing the concrete footings. Okay, so let's just do a save in Max, just to be safe, and we'll go back. Okay, so we'll combine all our layers together. I'm just going to check out this bottom corner here. I just want to make sure that I added enough to these guys. Alright, because now that I look at it, it's fairly, even, the intensity of it on most of our pieces, but then the first one's down here where we use that different texture, it just doesn't look as thick, so I'm just thinking maybe I should add a little bit to that before we move on. Let's just go back to Max for a sec. And yeah, you can see it doesn't really look that great right here. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly fix this and then we'll combine everything. Okay, so I'm just going to figure out what layer that is. Alright, it looks like it's probably layer 3. Alright, so I'm just going to maybe delete that. Alright, we'll just hit delete, get rid of it. Okay, and then I'm just going to go down and just copy off one of these other pieces here. Alright, we'll take this layer 2 copy one again, and I'm just going to duplicate it one last time. Alright, and we'll just drag it over here. Okay, and let's turn UVs on. Alright, so I'm just going to do Control T on it and just scale it a little bit longer. Okay, just so it fits a bit better. And let's just turn our UVs off. Okay, so we'll save and just see if that kind of fixes the problem. Okay, we should see it along the front there. Alright, so not too bad. It looks a little more even with the rest of it. And again, you can take forever playing around with this, but I think just for the sake of speed, I'm going to leave it, and we probably should move on. Alright, so we'll save one last time and start working on our concrete. Alright, so let's just zoom out. Just going to fit this to screen. Alright, so let's just select layer 2, hold down shift, and then go up to the top. Alright, so all the ones that make up the moss, and we'll just do Control E, combine them onto a single layer, and then let's just name this moss so we know what it is. Okay, and then we can just close up the moss 1 picture. Just say no. Get rid of the mask, get rid of the other moss, and we'll start working on the concrete here. Alright, so let's turn our UVs back on. And we'll just go back out and open up a concrete picture, and I have 4 of them here, and I'm going to actually use all 4 of these, so let's start with concrete 1. And this isn't giant, so I'll probably tile it a couple times, so let's just copy it, Control A and C, and we'll close it, and we'll just paste it above the moss layer with Control V. Alright, move it over to our little concrete blocks there, and we'll do Control T and just scale it down. Alright, so I think I'm going to take 2 at a time. You could do all 4 at once if you wanted to, but I'm just going to try to keep the resolution as good as possible. Okay, so we'll scale it down a bit like that maybe, and hit enter, and let's actually zoom in here so we can see. Alright, I'm just going to build up a couple layers of concrete and try to get kind of like a rough, old kind of concrete look. Okay, so we'll do that, and then let's copy it again, Control A and C, and paste, Control V, and we'll cover up the other 2. Alright, I'm just going to try to get the edge of the picture in between them. Alright, we'll do Control T and just flip this around, maybe horizontally, and let's do it vertically as well. Okay, just to change up the detail, and you can slide it around if you want to. Alright, so we'll do something like that, and we'll combine them both, layer 2 and 3, Control E, and then let's trim this off. Alright, so I'm just going to drag a selection around. Alright, Control Shift I, and delete. Get rid of it. Okay, and we'll just leave this one at normal and 100%. I'm just going to call it concrete. Alright, let's call it concrete base, maybe. Okay, and we'll go and open the next one. Alright, so I'm going to take this concrete 2, open it up, and this one's not massive, and it's a little weird looking, but I'm just going to use this to get some variation in the color. Okay, so let's just copy the whole thing, Control A and C, close it, paste it on. Alright, and we'll do Control T and just scale this way down. And if you wanted to just use a single concrete map, you could. You don't have to necessarily build up a bunch of layers of it. Alright, so for this one I might do, let's just do all 4 maybe. Just going to see how that will look. I might go down and get some of this darker stuff at the bottom on the texture. Alright, maybe there, and enter. Okay, and we'll just chop this one off as well. Alright, invert it and delete it. Okay, so I'm just going to turn the UVs off here for a second. For the blending mode on this one, I might change it to maybe overlay. Okay, and you can see the difference it makes. It just adds a little variation to the underneath layer. Alright, so we'll do that, and let's just name this maybe concrete base 2 or something. Doesn't really matter what we call this stuff. Okay, and let's turn the UVs back on, and we'll just go open the next one up. Alright, concrete 3. And same thing with this one. I'm just going to add, it to just get a little bit more variation and kind of like a rougher look. Okay, so we'll do the whole thing, Control A and C, copy it, close it, paste it on, Control V. Alright, and for this one, the resolution is not fantastic. As you can see, it's a little blurry in some places, so let's just scale it down and do 2 at a time. Alright, maybe I'll use the top portion of it for these guys. Okay, enter, and we'll copy it, Control A and C, paste it on, and just move it over to our other 2. Alright, and let's flip it around horizontally, and let's do it vertically to change it up a little more. Alright, so I'm just going to stick it maybe like that. and we'll say enter. And we'll combine 2 and 3 together. Control E. Alright, let's trim these guys off. Alright, invert it and delete it. Okay, and we'll set the blend mode to this one, maybe to overlay as well. And we can always, tweak these as we get it more built up. Alright, I'm just going to go down to the base 2 layer. Maybe just try changing the mode to maybe multiply to make it a little darker. Alright, so that should work. Okay, so we'll leave the first one at normal, second one at multiply, third one at overlay. And then we'll just open up the last one. And this one here is really, really chunky, as you can see, and the picture's taken from really close up, so it's not ideal for this. We do have some rocks and stuff on there. But I think I'll just change the blend mode and we'll try to see if we can hide the fact that it has some rocks, because that's going to look kind of weird if it shows up on our cement. Okay, so we'll just copy it, paste it on. Okay, and for this one I'm going to take it way down, and we'll just do 2 at a time. Alright, so let's scale it down a bit. Alright, drag it into place, and we'll hit enter and just turn our UVs on. Alright, so we'll just line it up with the first 2 again. Copy it again, and paste it. Alright, corrupt the next ones. Alright, let's flip this around. Alright, flip it horizontally, flip it vertically. Alright, let's move it up maybe a bit. Alright, try to get the edge in between the chunks, and say enter. Okay, and we'll combine them, layer 4 and 5, Control E, and just trim off the excess. Invert, Control Shift I, and delete. Alright, so let's turn our UVs off so we can see, and just change the blend mode here. I'm going to try overlay again. Okay, and that's going to take some of it out of there, and let's just lower the opacity down a little bit too. It doesn't have to be a lot, maybe 75 or so %. Okay, should be good. And let's just actually test this in max, see if it's going to look okay. Alright, so let's do a save. Alright, jump back over. Okay, so not too bad. Let's actually change angles here, just get a little closer to it. Okay, and it's hiding the seam fairly well, which is good. We actually have the corners cut here, so I'm surprised it's not more noticeable than it is. But that looks decent. We are going to put moss on this as well, so it's going to hide some of it. Let's just do a render with active shade a little closer up. Alright, so that's probably workable. Okay, so we'll just go back and name our layers, and then we'll add the moss. Alright, so let's do a save. Jump back over, and we'll just organize our stuff here. Alright, so let's just grab layer 3, and we'll double click it. I'm just going to give it basically the same name here. Just call it concrete base 3. Doesn't really matter. And I'm not going to combine these together, because I think when we get to the point where we want to do the bump map and the spec map, I'll probably turn some of them off altogether. Okay, so we'll just call this one concrete base 4. Alright, and let's just save one last time now that's named.